Last year, when this game was making the rounds, it was a small surprise for most people to see that of all the franchises that team up with Mario for the next crossover game, it was going to be the Rabbids series, a franchise of games that sort of went into hibernation for the past couple of years. The series was never that prolific, it's still working its way towards having 10 games on consoles, and released one per year around 2010. But the game started decreasing, and so Ubisoft went to Nintendo and helped get the ball rolling on this bizarre idea for a game. Mario & Rabbids doesn't start off on the best of feet when the crossovering begins, but to be fair to the game, crossovering of universes has never been smooth sailing at the best of times. Thinking back to Paper Jam, the justification of tying the Paper Mario universe to the Mario and Luigi one was that Luigi had just happened to find the Paper Mario book on a forgotten shelf of Peach's castle, and then accidentally dropped it the wrong way. Whereas, and this is where I stopped being nice to the game, Mario & Rabbids gives us one of the stupidest attempts at universe crossover that I've ever seen, and I don't care if this whole intro cutscene is traditional in terms of the Rabbids games, because I've never played one of them, but having the Rabbids randomly pop into a universe where they can get to the Mario universe in a time-traveling washing machine is one of the cheapest ideas for video game story that I've ever flippin' seen. With the suspension of disbelief already at the front door, within 2 minutes of the game starting, the Rabbids start screwing around the basement lab of this inventor fangirl, and one of the Rabbids accidentally gets the girl's experimental invention stuck on his face that allows the controller to combine two things together that they're looking at. And because the inventor was a Nintendo fangirl, that Rabbid begins combining the other Rabbids with a bunch of Mario merch until a portal opens up and drops them all into the Mushroom Kingdom. You heard it right here, folks. This crossover game starts off with one half of the crossover spontaneously coming into existence and randomly finding a literal crossover machine and points it at the Rabbids in Mario Kingdoms. I can't be the only one who thinks this sounds stupid on paper, and I am literally looking at it on paper now. With the Rabbids invasion underway, Mario meets a couple new friends by chance that begin the quest to help him save the Mushroom Kingdom, Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi. With how nonsensically the crossover device works, it's pretty lucky neither of these two ended up with an ass for a face. To help this group find some common ground to work towards, they are also met by the fangirl's robot assistant, who delivers the three something completely unprecedented in the Mushroom Kingdom: firearms! If you didn't think the crossover could get any weirder, then think again, because the gameplay style that Ubisoft went for in a game involving Mario and the Rabbids was a turn-based shooter strategy game. Basically, Mario & Rabbids is baby's first XCOM, believe it or not. And for never having held a rifle before in any of his games, Mario ends up being a damn great shot. Each character in the game gets different abilities and play styles that you can mix and match around depending on your situation and with great flexibility. The game is pretty generous with this and allows you to mix up your party members between every shooting gallery in the game, and this comes in especially useful when you need to swap out wounded members for fresh ones. Some characters will deal more in crowd control, elemental abilities, and multiple targeting. Some are built for long range and precise attacks, and some just like to blow up everything in front of them, not naming names. The expansive party is fantastic, since the characters do have unique repertoires of attacks among themselves, which allows you to play it more your way, but the problem is that the party members are unlocked around every 5 missions in the game, meaning that some of the game's party members will not get a chance to get looked into, since they get unlocked during the final mission of the game. Another issue is that in the spirit of crossover cooperation, the game forces you to have at least one Rabbid on your team, which sucks pretty hard since each of the Rabbid characters are literally inferior clones of the Mushroom Kingdom characters. Pretty much the same attacks with less health and damage. The only tolerable part to this is that Rabbid Peach grows through her skill tree to be a pretty helpful healer for the team, which is great to have in the later levels when attacks can start drilling you left and right. Mario & Rabbids has a bit more of an RPG vibe to it than you would think, and gives each character a skill tree that needs to be unlocked as the game goes on. To me, it seemed pretty straightforward at the start. Pick a branch of the tree, dump all your points into it, and give each of my main characters a different branch for the balanced party. but that was me thinking back to my World of Warcraft days where Mario and Rabbids made this as stupidly easy as possible. No, what you should be aiming for is to upgrade to the point where you have some points in all of the branches, because if you do that, you unlock a mystical 4th branch, which gives you access to faster movement speed and more health. I was totally embarrassed when I figured this out halfway through the game when Princess Peach came onto the scene as the tank wielding a shotgun, if you could believe that. Obviously, the game gives you gun upgrades throughout the quest as well that gives you a nominal damage increase at every new chapter, which you will need since all of the enemies also get damage upgrades between each chapter. Personally, after the 2nd chapter, my team was exclusively Mario, Rabbid Peach, and Princess Peach. Rabbid Peach could heal the team like crazy and had a long-range explosive option, and Peach was a goddamn tank with the ability to hit whole groups of enemies, with burn effects as well. It was a pretty fun team that was able to take care of most problems. The game itself isn't too hard to figure out. The enemies are classified in only a few groups. You have tank characters that can just soak up bullets, but they move really slow. Then you have support character types that wield grenades and elemental attacks along with healing abilities. Then you have standard shooter enemies with little to no tech, and then there's the specialist enemies that can warp around the field or move quickly with life stealing or poison damage, just to name a few. But beyond that, you only have to worry about the game's cover mechanics in terms of strategy prep. It's a very simple strategy game that really anyone can figure out, since there aren't complicated combos or a metagame available to completely break the game's difficulty over a pedestrian barricade. Although Mario & Rabbids does come with some challenging levels here and there that will test your abilities and give you a sense of satisfaction once finished that really makes the game. The boss fights are good tests of skills and are creative and interesting enough to be true set pieces most of the time, plus they are frequent enough to give the player a much needed break from the repetitive shootouts of other missions. Otherwise, this game would really just be repeated shootouts over and over again with repetitive enemies and the same mission over and over and over again. What I'm trying to get to is that the turn-based shooter gameplay is really good, and the reason that you should get this game if you do need a push to purchase it. But then there's the other thing on the other hand. The plot of the game is garbage. The Rabbid invasion of the Mushroom Kingdom has essentially turned the entire universe upside down, since that Rabbid with a crossover machine, now named Spawny for whatever reason, has been combining the Mario and Rabbid Kingdom at random all over the place. The Rabbid nonsense is found everywhere in the kingdom, and this is the point where I laughed my ass off at the game, because the whole point of the game that was a Rabbids crossover with Mario was to get the Rabbids out of the Mario Kingdom because they were being annoying and destructive. You had the people writing the dialogue for the game saying that the Rabbids were off the wall irritating, in-universe. It really is the little things sometimes. And to be fair, the bigger reason why the Mario crew is after Spawny is to defend the kingdom from a giant hole in the sky that keeps getting bigger as they kill Rabbids in the game. I mentioned the last part as a part of the plot because the hole in the sky for the whole game doesn't do anything, spoiler alert, but the only thing it does is summon a dragon into the world at the final level of the game that controls Bowser as a final boss. Because of all the people that needs to be tricked into fighting Mario in a duel to the death, of course it would be Bowser. Mario & Rabbids is another one of those irritating ass games that make the player spend the entire game chasing a person, only for that person to always get pulled away to another part of the game whenever they got close to them. After like the 4th time that would happen, I would tell Mario to just fuck it and let Bowser Jr. do whatever the hell he wants with Spawny. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Another reason why the game sucks is that Bowser isn't the antagonist of the game. Bowser Jr. is. It just so happens that Bowser went on vacation during the Rabbid invasion and left his son alone at the house to do whatever the hell he wanted. So the plot of the game is one note, stupid, flimsy, and full of terrible characters. But what makes it even worse, to the point that it made me think several times through the game whether or not I should continue playing, is that the Rabbid stuff that gets added to the game literally does nothing to improve it. The Rabbids aren't funny, they aren't comic reliefs, and they just come off as incredibly moronic and annoying to the nth degree. If I could do this video in 1 minute, I would say that the reason the game doesn't work is because Despicable Me 3 stole its thunder. The entire shtick, the only comedy that the Rabbids have to work with, is random lol humor. Randomness for randomness' sake, and the minions pretty much drag that type of comedy through all the mud puddles. It's been completely ruined, and you can't make it funny anymore. You glued a bunch of pancakes to a giraffe, or you stuff a bell full of dynamite. Who the hell cares? It isn't funny. Add to that a lot of instances of toilet humor, and you have a hilarity sandwich that spoiled about 7 years ago. The Rabbids are past their prime, and if Ubisoft wants to bring them back into mainstream gaming, they are going to need to get new ideas from new comedians, because you can't rely on a type of comedy anymore that died off about 5 or 6 years ago. Mario and Rabbids was a hard game for me to get through the campaign, because while I will always say that the game nails turn-based shooting mechanics to the T and has some new ideas to add to the Mario franchise, to keep me invested personally, I need to feel that I'm working towards something. I'm just a story-oriented gamer. Having fun gameplay is always a nice thing to see, but I'm going to get my real payoff for playing through a game and seeing the plot's conclusion, the villain's defeat. And this game can't hack that at all, full stop. The story of this game is just idiotic. Hell, it makes the quote-unquote plots of the new Mario games look good in comparison, because at least those games don't have literal toilet jokes in them. Spawny is being constantly whisked away under Mario's nose using whatever bullshit excuse Ubisoft can get away with, and all the Mario crew end up doing is following the leader. Bowser Jr. isn't even a good antagonist of the game, since Spawny keeps creating all the big monsters the Mario crew has to fight. It comes off feeling like Bowser Jr. is being a bad guy totally on accident. Mario and Rabbids is a boring game devoid of comedic value, whose only justification is greatly executed turn-based strategy mechanics and challenges against a small amount of repetitive enemies on copy-pasted battlefields. The only thing I'd say about the game is that you shouldn't make it your first title on the Switch. Maybe your 4th or 5th title, and if you can get it on the cheap. If you can believe that, we're almost done with the Mario series of games now that we're getting onto the Switch, so come around next time for our very last Super Mario game on the list. Until then, here's the final scoreboard. And a victory for gamers. See you next time.